Guys, we have got to tackle this TBR. Hello and welcome to my TBR tackle video. I am in a different spot to normal. My desk is down there, but I thought you just had to see the chaos that we are dealing with. I have got a 5-year plan to tackle this TBR, which I'm going to sit down and talk to you about shortly. But I thought first I'd just give you an overview. I'm not going to do one of those videos where I pull out every book and talk to you about it. If you want to see exactly what's on my TBR, head over to my story graph. But I am going to show you how I organise it. And yes, this is organised. It might not look like it, but I promise you it is. So let me just get behind the camera, get the tripod set up properly, and I will show you what we're working with here. So I was going to start by cleaning my shelves, but I thought, do you know what? No, let me just show you how they are at the current moment so you get a good idea of where we're starting from. So this first shelf up here currently has on all our holiday toiletries, sun cream, etc., because we are going on holiday in a week as I'm filming this. And yeah, all those books on there are Tom's TBR. So Tom doesn't read anywhere near as much as I do, but any books that his friend gives him or that I read and say that he'll like end up on here. So any of the books on here that I haven't read, so I haven't read The Maid, The Whistling, Station 11 I can see on there, Wayward, they don't actually count towards my TBR yet. They are his, and when he's read them, if I decide to then add them to my TBR, that's when they count. I hope that makes sense. Then this next shelf down holds all of my Little People Big Dreams collection. I have read all of these. Again, a few more holiday toiletries there, and also my fish. I love my Dory. I bought Dory during a really difficult time, and she just reminds me to just keep swimming. And that's all I can really say about that shelf. Moving on down to this shelf, and this is one of those, so these are the Billy bookcases that I have. And while you can change some of the shelves, this middle one here, let me point it out, this one has to stay where it is. So I always end up with a bit of an odd size shelf here. So this has just got all my kind of books about books. I have read most of these. Really recommend Bookshop Towns of Britain, and also Bibliophile, Diverse Spines and Bibliophile. And yeah, they're just kind of there chilling. Now this shelf is set up for autumn, so this has any books on it that I would like to prioritize reading in October. These are specifically books that I think would fit with that time of year, so witchy books. The other ones by Fran Hart I got a couple of years ago, but just didn't get round to reading it within spooky season. I've got Dracula, I've got Mandy Morton's Cat Among the Pumpkins, and like I say, loads of witchy books, and also the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, which I think will be my first spooky season read this year. If you do see any books when I show you the other shelves that you think should be in here, let me know. I don't think I'll get through all of these in October, but they will kind of bleed through to November as well. November's the month where I kind of start reading Christmas books, but kind of intersperse them with some other spooky season books. But yeah, that is my kind of priority shelf for that month. I'm not going to take you down to the next two shelves on here because they are all books that I've read and are just kind of there because I have nowhere else to put them at the moment. So then we move into the main bulk of my genre TBR. So these shelves used to be in alphabetical order but are now done by genre, although it's a little bit, it doesn't always work out the way that I want it to. This is my historical fiction shelf, but I'm not sure if Earthlings would class as historical fiction. And some of the books have just kind of been put there. So like the stack to your right is the all the three-word titles that I picked out for when I was looking at that for Victoria, so they might not be in the right place now. But I just have this one little shelf for kind of historical fiction. So there is also some YA historical fiction mixed into there. And I think that's about it for that one. And then we will then move down to my middle grade shelf. So again, this shelf does have a little pile just over on the right, which is books that I picked out from various places for my Victoria challenge and then didn't read. This is primarily my middle grade shelf. Some of the ones that I really want to pick up soon on here that have been lingering far too long. I definitely want to read The Amazing Edie Eckhart by Rosie Jones. I want to read No Ballet Shoes in Syria. I want to read Keedy. I want to read all of these. I have recently gone through and tried to unhaul some more books, but there's a lot on here that I'm just like, no, I still really want to read that. The only one that I'm not sure on is How to Train Your Dragon, because that was my nephew wanted me to read it and I think he's now grown out of it. It's taken me that long. And then again to the right, you've got some YA titles that have kind of bled in from the next couple of shelves. So you've got The Princess Diaries, This Poison Heart. Also got Ella McLeod's book. What's that called? Let me have a look. Ooh. The Map That Led to You, which is a book that was recommended to me by Laura Wood at the Simon & Schuster event. So again, all books that I still want to read. Now, these next two shelves are my most contentious because these are my two YA shelves. I think that when I looked at Storygraph today, I have read something ridiculously small. I think I've read under 20 YA books in the last couple of years, according to Storygraph. So why do I have two shelves full? But then the ones that are all here, I pick up to declutter, and then I'm like, no, I really want to read that. So it's a really, really difficult one for me. If you see any on the shelf that you're just like, no, you know what, Charlotte, you're not going to like that, get rid, let me know. The two that I've especially been in and ahhing about are There's Something About Sweetie and When Dimple Met Rishi. I read 10 Things, I don't know what it was called, but one from later in that series and I enjoyed it, but I'm just not sure whether I want to prioritize them. What I will say is that this video is just kind of the overview and the start of the challenge. This is a 5-year plan, so after a while I will be doing some challenges specifically. Maybe I'll do a month of reading YA, maybe I'll do like try a chapter, I don't know, there's all sorts of ideas floating around in my head, but this is just to give you the kind of starting point. This is where we are at. Moving down to these two shelves, we have mystery, thriller kind of books. We have some police procedurals in here. I really need to read the Steve Kavanagh books because I've heard that they're amazing and still haven't tried anything by Steve Kavanagh. Ruth Ware was one that I was thinking about DNFing, but then I read one by one and really enjoyed it. So yeah, these are all mystery, thriller-y type books. You also do have on here some YA, so The Cousins by Karen M. McManus, One of Us is Back by Karen M. McManus. I believe that Every Exquisite Thing by Laura Stevens is also YA, Where Sleeping Girls Lie. So like I say, I do still have quite a few YA books on my shelves and I just don't know. I just don't know if they're for me. One thing is for sure, I should probably stop buying YA books at the moment until I've read through a few more of these. I do have an ultimate plan, which I'll share with you in a bit when we sit down. But yeah, that is my thriller mystery collection. Now this shelf here is a little bit of a strange one. So this has some literary fiction. It has some classics. And then it just has some that I just didn't know where to put. So a few of these could probably have gone on my contemporary shelves, but my contemporary shelves in my head were more kind of fluffy, romancy type books. So I didn't want to put anything too heavy on those shelves. Heavy emotionally, not heavy weight. So yeah, this is a bit of a mismatch one here. And as you can see, again, this one is pretty full. Yeah, a lot of these books on here I'm kind of scared of. I'm not sure if they're going to be my thing. There's a few Sally Rooney's on here, and I enjoyed Sally Rooney's not Conversation with Friends. What was the other one that I read? Normal People, and have picked up, I think, The Beautiful World, Where Are You? I picked up in a charity shop along with Conversations with Friends, but there's just something that has meant haven't picked them up yet. And then last but not least, hiding down here at the bottom is my absolute favourite shelf. This is my Christmas shelf. And I know that when Victoria came to visit me, she was shocked that I had a whole TBR shelf for Christmas books. But I just bloody love them. Although one of my side quest goals during this is to have maybe a 0 TBR for Christmas books, because so many new ones come out every year. I always want the Heidi Swain that comes out. I always want the Cressida McLaughlin that comes out. Lizzie Huxley Jones has started doing them. I love Sarah Morgan's books. So yeah, I feel like I need to get this shelf really condensed by the end of the 5 years so that I can have a little spending spree for new books at Christmas. But then also, I'm obviously not going to say no when I find them in charity shops. Like this year, I've really got into Jessica Redland's books. I read Christmas at the Cat Cafe last year, so now I want to collect. She's got, I think, 4 in the series that are all that street. So yeah, we should probably not talk too much about the Christmas books right now, because I could literally just sit here staring at them all day. So we'll move over to shelf number 2. Seeing as I'm already sat on the floor, you can probably see my shadow here. I thought we'd go the opposite way around this time and go from the bottom up. So these 2 shelves, these 2 ridiculously messy shelves, are my non-fiction shelves. I have got such a mix of non-fiction. I've got self-help. I've got quite a lot of mental health ones. I'm really interested to read My Lovely Wife by Mark Lukash. That is about when his wife was in a mental hospital. I think I've got quite a lot of food books. I've got Unwell Women, which I started reading and found a bit dry, so I had to kind of put that down. And then up here, I've got The Gifts of Reading, which I really want to read soon. I've got The Price of Life by Jenny Kleeman, which I am planning to read very soon. That shouldn't be on that shelf, actually. That should be on my desk, but it's there. I've got Stanley Tucci's Taste, which I recently got from a charity shop. And again, I just want these shelves to be condensed to maybe 1. I've got a lot of kind of hardbacks here that I find I don't have anywhere to put them. I could do with having a shelf just for hardbacks, but that is where we are right now. And then just before we go up properly, these books here are just kind of overspill. So the Jilly Cooper book is for a project that I'm planning on doing, and I've got a few random hardbacks on there and odd size paperbacks. I don't know why I haven't read Everyone is Still Alive by Kathy Renson Brink yet. That was one of my most anticipated arcs, and it just really got not forgotten, just kind of pushed to the back. And that's why I want to do this challenge, because I don't ever want that to happen to arcs again. I'm so lucky to receive arcs, and I think I went through the stage at the beginning of my booktube journey, which I think I possibly am not the only one that went through this. And I went through the same with NetGalley as well, where I was just so excited by the prospect of getting these books and getting to read them that I overwhelmed myself. And now I'm just kind of starting to be really, really choosy with the arcs that I request. I have currently got 2 requested on NetGalley, one being the new Sophie Kinsella book. Sophie Kinsella used to be one of my absolute favourite authors, and in recent years, I've not really read many Sophie Kinsella, but this one is a novella which is based on her brain tumour diagnosis, and I thought that'd be really interesting. And then the second one is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. You probably remember that I absolutely adored Out on a Limb earlier this year, and so the follow-up to that, I was just like, yes, please let me get my hands on that. And I'm just being a little bit more choosy with which arcs I request, and also blog tours and things that I say yes to. That went off on a bit of a tangent, so let's get back to the shelves. So without a doubt, the biggest portion of my TBR, which will be no surprise to any of you, is my contemporary fiction shelves. Again, these are a little bit, like I say, I tried to get these so that they were more fluffier things, but I can see Louise O'Neill's Almost Love on the end there. I've got The Idea of You by Robin Lee, I think it is, which I believe gets a bit dark. I've got some series that I want to start there. I've got some Ali McNamara's. I've got Oh My God, What a Complete Ashleen. I've got This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. Again, one I was so excited for when it came as a pre-order, and it has just got kind of swallowed into the TBR. And a lot of these I did get from charity shops, and that's where I'm a little bit on the fence with going on a complete book buying ban or not, because I do really love scouting charity shops for books. So that is something that I will have to think about. I've just changed the camera angle slightly so you can get these 3 shelves in at once. So again, some books that I picked out to maybe use for Victoria's 3-word prompt. I've then got a pile of my Afterlight exclusive hardbacks there. I have cancelled my Afterlight subscription because if there are any books that I really want, they tend to be on Vinted. So I'd rather get them a little bit cheaper, because my motto generally is secondhand first. So I really need to put that into perspective when I'm buying books. There are a couple there that look like they could be quite festive. The Miranda Dickinson's, there is Hannah Bonham Young's other 2 books, because like I say, read one book and love it. I tend to go mad trying to get them. And they were actually a birthday present from Nana. She bought me some books from the works. And then on the top shelf again, I've got quite a few books about books. So I've got the Book Ninja, the Reading List, the Bromance Book Club, the Readers of Broken Wheel recommend. And yeah, just a lot of books that I still really want to read. There's a couple of arcs mixed in there as well. And then last but by no means least is my kind of sci-fi fantasy shelf. Again, a lot of these, so Defend the Dawn, I can't believe that I haven't read that yet. I read Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer and really loved it. I read the Curse Breaker trilogy a few years ago and again loved it. The problem that I've got here, and this is again another thing that I don't mind with charity shopping, but like I've got the first book in the Ark of Scythe trilogy, I've got the first book in the Ink trilogy and the first book in the Caravel trilogy, but I don't want to read them yet until I've collected the set, which then might make no sense because I might not enjoy them, but it's just something that I've done. And yeah, what more can I say? This is about the size of a sci-fi mystery shelf that I'd like, because I am getting more into mystery kind of books now. But there we go. There is my whole TBR. Now, when I say that's my whole TBR, what I really should be saying is that is my whole physical TBR, because I have another 100 or so books on NetGalley and the same on Kindle, which I'm not too worried about them. The NetGalley one I am, but the Kindle books I'm not worried too much. I love my Kindle. It's great for traveling. For me, with a chronic illness, I do still prefer a physical book to my Kindle, but when I'm having a bad flare day, I can hold my Kindle at any angle that is comfy for me. Can't do that with a book. I tend to get pains in my shoulder. My Kindle I can prop up on something and still read it. I can read when I'm having problems with lights because it's not, is it backlit or frontlit? Whatever it is on my Kindle, I find that easier to read than the screen, even when I've got maybe not the worst of migraines. I find it easy when having a slight migraine to just make the text bigger on it. And yeah, I will sing the praises of my Kindle. And going forward, I would like to get more of my new releases as a Kindle, and then if I like them and I'm going to reread them, then buy the physical copy. So as you will have seen from the title, I think, this is a 5-year plan. I have sat this past month and done a lot of goal setting, a lot of soul searching, and I've come up with a 5-year plan for a lot of different areas in my life. Some of those I'm going to keep private just because I don't feel like sharing everything with the internet at the moment. But you know me, I'm a chronic oversharer, so it will probably come at some time. But as of the first of, so this all started because we have come up with a 5-year plan to save a deposit for our first home. We're already partway there. We're really lucky to be in the situation at the moment of me working as Nana's carer 5 days of the week and going out to work the other 2. Tom does the opposite, works 5 days a week and cares for Nana the other 2. And that also means that with Nana being housebound now, that we don't get out a lot, we don't do a lot. We thought this would be a good time to really knuckle down and get as juicy a deposit together as you possibly can. I know that we're in a really privileged position to be able to save. And so that is our 5-year plan in that regard. And one thing that I've been doing, I've been watching a lot of people talk about kind of what you really want from life. Like I had in my head, and I still love these houses. I love the big 1930s detached houses, but I don't want to spend, I'm nearly 35 now. I don't want to have a massive mortgage that means that we can't enjoy life because of that mortgage. I don't know with my health if I'm going to be able to work full time, long term, or whether I'm going to work part time. You never know what's around the corner. And we're looking at seeing what's the kind of, it's a little bit of a trade off. We want to live somewhere with good public transport links. That is a non negotiable. I need to have a bath. That is another non-negotiable. But apart from that, we don't have children. We're not planning to have children. If you're new here, I can't have children naturally anyway. We have talked about the possibility of adopting, but that's on the back burner at the moment. So the house just needs to be perfect for me and Tom. We are not the kind of sociable people that want to have dinner parties and have people over. We just want to make this little nest that we feel comfortable in and we kind of want to return home to at the end of the day. This is going really off track. But anyway, part of that is knowing that we were looking at least 3-bedroom properties. We're now looking at 2-bedroom properties. So I probably won't have the space that I have here for this collection of books. And so rather than getting to the point where just before we move, I have to suddenly unhaul a load of books, I've worked out that if I decrease my books by 7 each month, that will mean that at the end of the 5 years, my TBR will be under 300, which would fit on just one of these Billy bookshelves, which I'm pretty sure no matter what house we buy, we will be able to fit one bookshelf in. Actually, technically it will be 2 because I want to have one TBR shelf and one of read books. But as of the 1st of September, there were 694 books on my TBR. And this, I'm going to do a book balance every month. But if the numbers don't quite add up, just know that I'm not lying to you. It's just that sometimes I'll go through Storygraph and find books that I unhauled months ago that are still there. And other times I will find books that I thought I'd put onto Storygraph and weren't. So that is the main quest. And there's a couple of rules to this. There's actually 3 rules that I'm going to be sticking to. Number 1 is I am not allowed to buy ebooks. Blanket ban. not a single ebook. I don't borrow ebooks from my library either because they're not compatible with my Kindle. I have enough ebooks now to last me a long time. I have said already that this is more about my physical TBR. I am allowed to request NetGalley books, but only if I am going to read them in the month before the book is due to be released, and only if it's one of my highly anticipated books. So no more just scrolling NetGalley and being like, oh, that sounds good. No, it has to be like an insta buy author, like a Claire McIntosh, a Heidi Swain, a Cressida McLaughlin, a Janice Hallett. Those kind of books I will always request on NetGalley. And hopefully now that I've gone over the magical 80%, I might actually get accepted for some of them. So if when I film my book balance, so I will film that the first week of each month, when I film that, if the TBR is 3 or more over the goal, I have to go on a 1-month buying ban. So like I say, the goal is 7 each month. So that's not just to read 7 books, that is to be 7 lower. So if 7 books come in, I would then have to read 14 books that month to go down. Now, like I said, I am going on holiday at the end of September, so I'm hoping that that will give me a good kickstart. But I also don't want to neglect the fact that I am going to have these NetGalley arcs. Like, they won't count to going down my TBR because they're not physical books, but I still have to read them. So that's going to be fun. And then also at the end of each season, I will have a look at how many books I've got. When I film my anticipated releases video, that is when I will sit and pre-order books. So if I'm not balanced at the end of each season, I will forfeit the right to pre-order for that season. So I think, let me just check. I think I've done that. So that'll be on the 1st of November. If I'm not balanced then, I can't order any winter books. On the 1st of February, if I'm not balanced then, I can't order any spring books. On the 1st of May, if I'm not balanced then, I can't buy any summer books. So those are the tight rules. And then I do have a couple of little side quests, which are to get my Christmas shelf to TBR 0 at the end, to get my NetGalley arcs to 0, and to read all of my favourite authors' backlists. So at the moment, people like Louise O'Neill, Louise Doherty, I think I've read all of Claire McIntosh's. I've got a couple of Cressida McLaughlin's. I think I've read all of Heidi Swain's. But I want to get all those. Millie Johnson, for example. I've read, I think, 2 Millie Johnson books and loved them. And I have about 7 more on my TBR. I want to be reading them before I then start with the newer books. I'm not going to have that as like a hard and fast rule. But again, it's over 5 years. So I would always like to at least have read the kind of last 3, I think is a good one. So, for example, at the moment, I have 2 unread Heidi Swain's, which is fine. But by the time I get home for Christmas, that would make it 3. So then if I hadn't finished them and they were still sat on my TBR, I couldn't pre-order the next one. I hope this is making sense to you. It makes sense in my head. And then it just says that I want all my read books to be on one bookcase, which they are at the moment. There's plenty of room. But I just want to really think about why I'm keeping the books. I always want to have my rainbow bookshelf. So if a book has a rainbow spine, that's almost a definite keeper. But once I've got that 3-shelf rainbow, I then want to kind of, if I'm keeping a book that would fit in that rainbow, is there one that I can take out instead? I don't know. It's a lot to think about, especially when you're feeling a little bit. I said to Callie this morning on Instagram, I feel like I'm walking through treacle at the moment because with Nana not being very well, we've had a baby monitor set up, so every time she coughs or moves, we're like, is she okay? And yeah, she is okay, bless her. She is getting a lot better, but when you're 98 and a half, these things just take time. But yeah, that is my 5-year plan. So that means that I am committing to stick with BookTube for 5 years. If nothing else, I will be doing my book balance every month. Let me know what you think about it below. Thank you all for watching, and I will speak to you soon. If you've made it this far, leave me a book or a bookshelf emoji below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you can. And until next time, look after yourselves. Bye.